Hey guys, long time no see. How's everybody been doing? Now I know that I did say that I was going to be uploading new videos a while back on my community tab. However, life got in the way. My schedule for uploading new videos just kept on getting pushed back from days to weeks to months. During that time away from YouTube, I've been busy working on my site, updating my video editing skills, plus also working on this new dating ebook that some of you guys have been asking me about, which may or may not get released, depending on interest. I'll talk more about the ebook in a future video, so stay tuned for that. And finally, I also just got a new makeover. Do you like my new look? Now as for today's video, I think this video will help a lot of you guys out there that are just completely clueless when it comes to reading the signs of interest from a Vietnamese girl, or just any female in general. In this video, I'm going to be going over 8 different ways that you can find out whether or not a Vietnamese girl likes you. Now, while seeing 1 or 2 of these signs doesn't necessarily mean that she's head over heels in love with you, the more of these signs that you do see though, the higher the likelihood that she does indeed like you. So let's get started. Number 1. Smiling. Ah yes, the good old smile. This one is pretty much a universal sign in most cultures around the world that a chick digs you, including girls from Vietnam. Now, unless she works in the service industry where she needs to be greeting customers all day, she is an overly friendly person with everyone, or she's running for office as a sleazy corrupt politician, then she most likely isn't going to be flashing that smile to every stranger that she meets on a regular basis. Her smiling at you is a sign of attraction and a key giveaway that she likes you and wants you to make a move on her. And this is not surprising, as research has shown smiling to be a good indicator of interest towards someone. According to researchers from the University of Dayton, Ohio, that conducted a meta-analysis that looked at the behaviors associated with attraction over several decades, they found that smiling was one of a handful of subconscious behaviors associated with attraction, trust, and rapport. These findings is further supported by another study conducted by Heisen and Zeifman, who found that eye contact and smiling were invoked because they communicate romantic attraction in someone. But besides the obvious of using smiles to indicate interest in the opposite sex, research has also shown smiling in females help increase their level of attractiveness in the eyes of males. In one study that looked at over 1,000 subjects, researchers at the University of British Columbia found that men found females to be more attractive when they smiled compared to having either a proud, neutral, or an ashamed facial pose. But this isn't surprising though. I mean seriously, who would you find more attractive? Some girl with a beautiful smile, or another one with a resting bitch face? In another study published in the Journal of Social, Evolutionary, and Cultural Psychology in 2008, researchers found that people that smiled tended to score higher in 10 attributes that included things like attractiveness, trustworthiness, and health, and that this was especially powerful when influencing a man's judgment of a female. Now, in addition to helping a female appear more attractive to men, smiling has also been shown to cause more men to try and court females as well. In one study published in the Journal of Social Behavior and Personality, researchers found that when a female subject was asked to either smile or to not smile at a man when he entered a bar, it was found that men that were smiled at tended to approach the female more and interpreted her smiling at them as a sign of interest. So the next time you catch a female smiling at you, it could very well be a sign of interest and her telling you to get your ass over there and approach her already. Number 2. Laughing at your jokes. Oftentimes, when you read an online dating profile from a female, or you ask a female what traits they desire in a romantic partner, one of the first things they will list is humor. It's not surprising then that a lot of guys try to be funny by telling jokes to a girl that they like, hoping that it will make her more attracted to them. And this can serve as a way of gauging her interest level in you as well. One of the easiest ways to tell whether or not a Vietnamese girl likes you is to see if she is laughing at your jokes. Girls that are into you will laugh at a lot of your cheesy, corny jokes regardless of how good or bad they are. You'll know something's up when no one else is laughing at your lame jokes but her. But there could very well be a good real reason as to why she is laughing at your lame jokes. Research has shown that both sexes value humor in a romantic partner. However, Both sexes refer to having a good sense of humor differently. In one study published in the Journal of Evolution and Human Behavior, researchers found that women rated the ability to be funny much higher than males, whereas males rated humor receptivity in females to be much higher in importance than the ability to be funny. These findings were further replicated in another study conducted by Hone et al., who found that men considered humor receptivity as a necessity in a female partner and preferred a partner that thinks they are funny. Furthermore, in another research paper by Lee et al. That sought to see whether or not humor functions to indicate interest in social relationships, the researchers found that across 3 studies, both sexes were more likely to initiate humor and to respond more positively and consider the other person to be funny when they were initially attracted to that person. These findings could help explain why females tend to laugh at a lot of the jokes that a guy that they are attracted to makes, even if the jokes aren't funny, as they might know on a subconscious level that having appreciation for a guy's humor is an attractive trait to have and to help convey interest in them. And this has been my personal experience as well. Most of the females that are actually into me, I find tend to laugh at a lot of the jokes that I tell, and always tell me that I'm funny and have a good sense of humor, whereas the other girls that have low interest in me tend to appear cold and aloof. This is probably why you oftentimes hear a lot of guys claim that Vietnamese girls are cold and rude. They are cold and rude to them because they just simply don't find them attractive. Maybe that guy smells or his game is whacked. Maybe he dresses like a hobo. Who knows? So the next time you see her laughing at all of your jokes, even if they are lame and corny, it could be her trying to tell you that she likes you. Number 3. Eye contact. They say the eyes are the window to the soul, and you can tell a lot about a person just based on their eyes, including whether or not they have their hots for you. Eye contact, especially if it's sustained eye contact, could be a good indicator that she's attracted to you. Girls that are attracted to guys can't help but look at the guy. And if she's the bolder type, she might even stare at the guy for several seconds. In fact, I've encountered this more than a handful of times with Vietnamese girls. I remember one time back in high school, I had a Vietnamese girl directly stare at me for a good 10 to 15 seconds before breaking eye contact with me on the first day of school. It was quite uncomfortable, to be honest, to have some stranger just stare at you like that, but I guess she just couldn't help it. And over the course of the school semester, she couldn't stop flirting with me and trying to get into my pants. And there were other times in recent years when I was out for an evening stroll and I would catch girls just blatantly staring at me. And if you pay close attention too, you might just notice girls doing the exact same thing to you as well. I believe we have always known about eye contact as a good indicator of interest in someone. However, research has only really taken off about the social aspect of human interaction in the last century or so. Today, you can find more than a handful of research studies that support the notion that eye contact does in fact indicate attraction towards someone, like this study published here in 1973. In this study, researchers paired up 60 opposite-sex subjects, 30 males and 30 females, for 10 minutes and allowed them to talk and get to know each other, and talk about anything they wished. Subjects would then be asked to rate each other. But here's the interesting part. After the conversation was over, an experimenter would arrive and provide the subjects with false feedback regarding the amount of gaze they had given each other. One of the subjects was told by the experimenter that they either gazed at the other person at a higher level than normal for most people, an average level, or a low level. After being told this, subjects were asked to evaluate each other. The results from this experiment showed that females gave the most favorable ratings when they had reportedly gazed at the males at a high level, while both males and females rated a low gazing partner as least attentive and a high gazing partner as sincere. In addition, males rated low gazing females as least attractive, while females rated high gaze males as least attractive. This study showed us that females viewed males the most favorable when their gaze towards males was reported to be high, and least favorable when it was reported to be low. Both sexes agreed that a low-gazing individual was significantly less attentive than an average or high-gazing individual. Not surprisingly though, male subjects also rated females with low gaze as being least attractive and interesting. I think this study shows what we males have always known intuitively, and that's low interest females typically give off low eye contact to us or none at all to signal disinterest. The literature also shows that eye contact is a natural way for us to signal to the opposite sex that we are attracted to them, and can impact our perception about how likable and attractive that person is. Furthermore, it has been shown that people that are romantically attracted to each other engage in more mutual eye contact. Based on these findings, we can make an educated guess that the more eye contact a girl gives you, the more likely that she is attracted to you. So the next time you find a Vietnamese girl looking at you, it could very well be her way of telling you that she's attracted to you. Number 4. Tries to get close to you. Physical proximity. Girls that dig you typically like to come close to you. Sometimes, if you pay attention, you may even notice them bumping into you by accident because of how close to you they are. Now this also applies to strangers as well, and girls that you never met before. Women will approach a guy and position themselves nearby him in such a way as to allow for easy conversation. These are deliberate attempts to get you to notice them or to talk to them, such as pretending to be looking at something close to you like a statue, a plant, or maybe sitting nearby you. Now while you may think that this is just sheer coincidence, more often than not though, it was done on purpose so that you could go and talk to them. But a lot of guys are oblivious to this fact, and so end up walking away from the girl and ruining his chances of ever meeting her, and also disappointing the girl in the process. That's why it's important to pay attention to your surroundings at all times. This method of female seduction isn't anything new though, and has been reported in numerous research studies in the past, whereby females strategically place themselves in close proximity to the male that they are attracted to, in order to get the guy to approach them. And in one particular study published in the Journal of Medical Anthropology, the author referred to this as the approach. According to the author, the sequence begins when one person, often the woman, physically approaches the other person. For example, a woman sees an interesting man at the hors d'oeuvres table at a party, and she goes to the table herself. She has thereby placed herself within talking range, even if she does not open the conversation. Indeed, quite often men do not believe, for example, that a woman's proximity to them at an hors d'oeuvres table could be deliberate. In various ways, many men have said to me that she was just standing there, so I started to talk to her. Men's inabilities to decode or perhaps to trust women's proceptive behavior seriously impair their abilities to meet women, a problem that arises in many singles groups. So the next time you find a girl standing close to you, it could be her way of telling you to go make a move on her already. Moving on. Number 5. Initiates conversation with you. Now, in addition to positioning herself nearby you in the hopes that you'll notice her, a Vietnamese girl may even try to initiate a conversation with you if she likes you enough and isn't shy. Oftentimes, what appears to be an innocent conversation initiated by a girl could in fact be her way of signaling interest in you. I've personally had Vietnamese girls who have noticed me a few times before at a shop or in the neighborhood just come right up to me and try to strike a conversation with me, or even butt into a conversation that I was having with someone else just so that they could talk to me. Hell, I even had one girl try to flag me down to strike up a conversation with me, and when I didn't notice her, she flagged my cousin down instead to try to get me to notice her. She later told me that she wanted to go have lunch with me. Girls don't typically go through all that trouble for someone that they aren't attracted to. And research has also supported the notion that girls that are attracted to a guy will in fact try to initiate conversation with them. In the same meta-analysis paper that we discussed earlier, that examined 309 studies across various cultures in which various behaviors were used as cues for attraction, researchers noted that the act of initiating a conversation with a member of the opposite sex as being an indicator of interest from a female. I'm sure we've all encountered females who we've suspected had a thing for us, that would oftentimes try to strike up a conversation with us, with the hopes that their actions would be rewarded somehow, such as reciprocation of feelings. Well, this is her way of showing interest in you. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that you do need to be a little careful with this one though, as hired guns or girls seeking something from you may try to strike up a conversation with you, such as a girl just looking to use you to practice her English skills, or someone trying to sell you something. But if you use some common sense, and you also look for other indicators of interest, like the ones we discussed here, It should give you some pretty big clues as to how she feels about you. Number 6. Touch. Another huge sign that she's into you is whether or not she's touching you. And no, going to the doctor for a medical exam and getting frisked by a female nurse or doctor doesn't count. Touching is a way for a female to build attraction in a man and cause them to like the female more. When you touch someone in a non-pervasive way, oftentimes you create comfort, trust, and familiarity with someone. Think of someone like a boss or friend giving you a pat on the back for a job well done. Don't you oftentimes feel just a little bit better after the pat on the back? And in the case of females, you might even start to become attracted to them afterwards. Now you may see touching in the form of her placing her hand on your shoulder, arms, back, or it may be a playful type of touch such as her hitting you when you tease her. I'm sure you've experienced and seen this type of playful touch when she hits you gently on the arm or shoulder after you've teased her on something before. That's a non-verbal way of her signaling interest in you. Just make sure it's a gentle slap or punch on the arm and not one to the face or a knee to the nutsack and you're good to go. Touching as a way of signaling interest and flirting with a potential mate has long well been documented in several research studies for decades now. In one study back in the 1980s, researchers camped out at bars to observe the behaviors of females flirting with men and recorded their non-verbal behaviors. They also looked at which behaviors caused men to approach the women, talk with them, ask them for a dance, or even kiss the females in some instances. The researchers noted that once a man had approached the female, she would oftentimes employ touch to convey interest in the man, such as caressing his arm, face, an object, their leg, or positioning their legs or feet so that they would touch the man's. And this has been my experience as well. Typically females, when they like me, will look for attempts to touch me somehow, such as hitting me gently on the arm when I teased her, or touching me on the arm or back, or even caressing a strand of my hair when I was sitting down. And if you start paying attention to this behavior, you might also realize that a lot more females have been touching you than you had previously known. So the next time you start seeing a female make attempts at touching you, it could very well be her way of telling you that she likes you. Number 7. Open body language. Here's another way that you can observe a female to get a good idea of how she feels about you. Just look at her body language. Is she exhibiting a closed or open posture when she's talking with you? An open posture indicates she's comfortable around you. Are her arms or legs crossed, or are they open and inviting when the two of you are conversing? What about the way that she's positioned? Is she facing directly in front of you, or does it look like she's veering to the side? The former indicates interest, while the latter seeks distance. And what about her feet? Are they pointing towards you? Which again is her opening up herself to you, or are they pointing away from you? Is she leaning in when the two of you are talking, or does she keep a distance between the two of you? If you notice that she is facing you, and her feet are pointing towards you, and her arms nor legs are not crossed, then this is a pretty good indicator of interest from her. She is making herself vulnerable towards you because subconsciously she is attracted to you. But on the other hand, if you notice her arms or legs are crossed, then that's not a good sign. She's trying to close herself off from you and has created a barrier between you guys. Female body language and posture has long been studied, and various findings have been published in numerous research studies already. In a research paper published by McCormick and Jones, the researchers list several categories of nonverbal flirtation behavior that are utilized by females, such as adopting an open posture. That includes things like possessing a relaxed stance, having open arms and legs, and pivoting toward or facing their partner. Nowadays, when I am talking with a Vietnamese girl, I am always taking note of her nonverbal behavior and looking for things like whether or not she leans in when we're talking, if her arms are crossed, and how her feet are pointed. Now, she may or may not realize what she's doing, but it's a dead giveaway if you know how to read someone's body language to gauge their interest level in you. A lot of guys don't pay attention to these little things, but I think they are missing out on a lot of extra information that they could have otherwise used to help read a girl's interest level in them by simply observing her body language. Number 8. Lingers around you. And now we get to the final sign of interest from a Vietnamese girl, and that's lingering around you. Some Vietnamese girls, if they like you, you'll notice that they will tend to hover and linger around you, as if like a child following their mother around. This is deliberate, and if you notice a girl always around you and lingering about, then it's a pretty good bet that she has feelings for you. Now don't get confused and mix this up with a sales employee working at a shop that follows customers around all day. They are paid to do that. But if you do notice a girl, say for example out on the street, or perhaps a girl that lives in your neighborhood that tends to linger around you a lot, then there's a good chance that she is in fact attracted to you. Just to give you an example, I had a receptionist that worked at a gym that I used to work out at, and she would always look for ways to hover around me and strike up conversations with me. It didn't matter that I would be at the squat rack one minute, and then the next all the way at the barbell bench press station. She would always somehow find a way to be right where I was when I was working out at the gym. So if you notice a girl is always lingering around or following you around, then there's a chance that she's into you. Just a little disclaimer here. A lot of the studies that are referenced in this video were conducted in Western countries, as you will be hard pressed to find much, if any, research studies at all on female behavior being conducted and published in Vietnam. However, I believe that shouldn't take away from the validity of any of the points that I made regarding female attraction behaviors, as some researchers did in fact take this into account in their results and looked at whether or not this behavior was aligned across different cultures, such as the meta-analysis by Montoya and Kershaw, who did in fact find that this behavior was consistent across different cultures and were predictive of attraction after examining 309 studies. Furthermore, in one study, researchers were able to identify that people from a pre-literate culture who had minimal exposure to literate cultures such as Western or Eastern cultures were found to associate particular facial expressions with a particular emotion, and that this was universal regardless of culture. Now, another point that I want to make is that although seeing one or two of these signs of interest doesn't necessarily mean that she's into you, but the more of these subtle cues that you do see though, the higher the chances that she does in fact like you. But with that being said, however, at the end of the day, these are just clues to help you determine where you stand with a girl, but aren't guaranteed to be 100% accurate. If you really want to know for sure whether or not she's really attracted to you, then you need to grow a pair and go make a move on her already, and she'll let you know accordingly where you stand with her. Now, to make life easier for you guys, I have created a free checklist guide for you that covers all of the signs of interest that we've discussed here in this video, along with 4 additional ways of knowing when a Vietnamese girl likes you. So make sure to download my free checklist guide. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment below telling me what sort of future videos you guys would like to see, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye bye!